You just had a direct.
See, you're right next to Maggie.
And you're supposed to go to the not left on the curb. So we turn it forward, pick up.
Report. We will call this meeting to order. The approval of the agenda for August 12th, 2026. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Second.
In a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? How about the approval of the minutes for June 8th, 2026?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will move on to the staff reports. We'll start with the police department.
And off.
Hi, everyone. Authorize the last, consistent meet. I don't have much besides, second check Thursday results from last month that we did. Looks like we had 126 people attended, 105 were seen by the DMV, 11 restricted driver's licenses were issued, 20 driver's licenses were reinstated, and a total of 48 warnings were, rescheduled. So they've been cleared. It was a really good event. We had Culver, lovely, community center. Our next one's planned in about 3 or 4 months. We were still finalizing the date and time, where we're gonna do it again. So we'll put that out on social media and probably get the news again. But does anyone have any questions for me?
What's the difference between cleared and the rescheduled on the warrants?
So essentially, some of these warrants, they could be cleared if they basically have a fine to pay. A lot of times they're kind of outstanding, so we canceled the warrant for the extension, basically, like, it was a new court date, so we rescheduled court date.
Okay, cool.
After building management.
It's coming along. They've got walls. I've heard that they have offices now inside the building. We're looking forward to it. I've heard some jokes from superintendents because they're very excited, like they're like, oh, my own office, and stuff. Much needed. We're looking still at April, May, I think. It's ahead of schedule from what I last heard. So it's going well.
Quick question about that, let's follow up. What's anticipated as far as any impact to policing efforts in what I'm gonna call the Orchard District, that area where the station is at now?
I don't think you'll see really much of an impact. We're We're gonna be a little bit further out west, yes, but honestly, most of our patrol officers are on the street anyways. The only time they're utilizing the station is when they're doing reports, things like that. We do have a few people at the station, you know, that are responsive, you know, for any walk-ins and things like that, but you'll see us mostly out on the streets. We're not.
So the patrol patterns or whatever are not, at this point, intended to change.
No, not at all. Yeah, we will still be patrolling the beats that they're assigned and everything. That people have coverage, that can focus every day, we get always covered. So, yeah, that might, so.
Today, as we speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Questions?
I'm not friendly. The only thing I have is, we do have, neighborhood night out tomorrow night, so come on out. I know there's at least one around Heiser night. It is for 48, 49 meet. And also, I just got an email today about Vanessa, the bridge over there. Unfortunately, it doesn't, we didn't plan to have it rebuilt during the time that works best for everybody. So, I guess in 2 days, on Wednesday, we'll have it should be open for pedestrian traffic. Police currently have no schedule to be hanging out there to remind people that they can't drive across the bridge, which is closed, but, I am talking with, the SRO just to make sure that if he hears anything, to let me know so that we can kind of facilitate that to help out. I know that I've caught myself driving down 13th and then I'm like, I'm so close, and then I drive around to go north on Waco. So it's kind of annoying for all of us, but we'll get there, we'll get it fixed, so
But you can always go up with Jeanette, to catch 18.
that's my secret way of going. I'm sorry. It's supposed to go up to 21st, but 18th is wide open.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no convenient time where it
Yeah.
doesn't inconvenience someone, but.
If the city would let me put a ramp up on one side and then I could just use the hazard over.
Get you a 70 Dodge Charger and get it.
I mean, I've got a 17 Tahoe. I think I can get at least half what it costs that.
Any other questions? Okay, awesome.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you,
sir.
guys.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
every night up to you.
Be safe.
Appreciate it.
Let's see,
Where they.
fire academy?
Are you gonna be in change? Or something, Wednesday morning with justice?
I won't, but one of us will be there.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Because I just found out like an hour ago.
Fun time.
So. How's it going, Dan? Great. Lieutenant Bay, Wichita Fire Department, officially Lieutenant Bay now, by the way. Lieutenant Ralph, as some might call me, that's an inside joke that I'm not gonna tell you. So would look poorly upon the Wichita Fire Department. So, yeah, once again, I'm in community risk reduction. I work out of City Hall, but I'm all over town all day long. Checking fire alarms, and sprinklers and things like that, doing rigs events. You guys are, aware that a year or so ago, we retired Sparky and we now have Riggs as our new mascot. So, watch. I think it's Kate on Wednesday morning, apparently an interview with Sergeant Justice. I just found out about it. I don't know how that works because Justice and Riggs don't talk, so. It's pretty weird, right? All right, hey, we've had a lot of cool stuff happening lately. We've got 4 new engines. Firehouse is 8, which serves 6, District 6. 16s, and 17s would both come to District 6, if we have a major event or anything like that, and, Firehouse 14s. All got brand new engines. It's pretty awesome. The push-in ceremonies went really well. Didn't have as much of the public out as we were hoping, so we probably need to do a better job getting that information out on social media.
You explained it.
Yeah, absolutely. The push-in ceremony, it's just a traditional ceremony where we physically, manually push the engines in. It harkens back to the olden days when we had horse-drawn carriages for all of our engines. So you can't back the horses up, so they have to push everything in. Yes, sir.
Remind me, the engines are the ones that have ladders?
No, the ladders have ladders. But we're just about done with the ladders in the city of Wichita. Now we use trucks.
Okay.
There's a difference between a ladder and a truck. The trucks are the ones with the big ladder and a bucket on top. The engines are the ones that have all of the hose. That's your frontline fire tech operations. They're the ones that hook up to the hydrant, pump the water and take water inside and spray it all around. It's not really as much fun as it sounds. It's way more fun to be on a truck. get to go to the roof and carry a chainsaw and break doors and all kinds of fun stuff. Let's see, yeah, out east a couple weeks ago was a pretty wild fire, on Terra Lane. I think that's in like Vicarage, neighborhood, I think. Some of the interesting things that happens, we have to treat each house fire individually, right? Like, things are always gonna be different. But in reality, you make 100 house fires, 90 of them are gonna be pretty similar. Here in the core, kind of cookie cutter homes, I mean, they look different, but they're all relatively the same size. You kind of know the layout before you go in there, because you've been in those houses 100 times, right? Making medical calls, doing this, doing that. You go way out east, way out west, or maybe in like Riverside or something, and you get these really big homes that are not house fires, they're building fires. And a building fire to us is just a bigger deal than a house fire, it just takes more effort. So that's part of what this was. It was a well-developed fire before anybody got there. The story that I heard was a couple of kids that were running from the school right there, Haven, I think. They were out running track or something like that, and they saw a bunch of smoke. It was a weird time of day. You just don't think to make a fire, you know, like 10 a.m. or whenever that came out. I remember it coming out and thinking like, probably nothing. Sure enough, rip roaring fire. No determination's been made yet, at least not come across the official channels. Sounded electrical, sounded like maybe something to do with an air conditioning unit or something like that. But that was a big house and it caused a lot of problems. You got it lit, took forever, took a lot of units. The problem there is that when we have so many units dedicated to one large event, all the other events in town still have to be addressed. So sometimes people think like, what do you really need 23 firehouses for, right? And most of them have 2 apparatus, some of them have 6 apparatus. Yeah, all these firemen sitting around doing nothing. Well, while we're fighting that fire with half the city over there, there's still code blues coming out. There's still, you know, older people falling. There's still car wrecks coming out. So it really does delay our ability to respond to all that. So fortunately, we've got another firehouse coming online and we're keeping everything on track as best as we can. So yes, sir.
Were there any injuries associated with that big event?
No civilian injuries. There were a few animals that passed away, is my understanding. Yep, that's terrible. Yeah, sucks.
What about firemen?
No firefighter injuries were reported. So, we've been pretty lucky the last few weeks. Most of the guys that get hurt and get put on light duty, they end up coming to City Hall and working with us for a little while. So, we just gotta see how many guys are there at any given time. It's kind of how we're doing with injuries. And I think we've got 2 guys on long-term injury timeout right now. And that's like, normally we've got 5 or 6. So we're doing pretty well. And this is the time of year where people get hurt a lot. So yeah, doing pretty well with that. Let's see. I didn't get a gander at this. Sorry, gang. I was out busting people's sprinkler systems all day long. So all right, back to school, right? When the kids out riding their bikes and everything, going to school. I haven't seen any yet, but we do like to do a lot of the back to school ride events. Going out riding bikes for little kids on their way to school, like, you know, the Riverside neighborhood gets that all the time. Pay attention to your social medias, kind of follow that. If you have kids, don't have a helmet. If your neighbors have kids, don't have a helmet. If you have grandkids, whatever. We generally speaking will bring extra helmets to that. We'll do it at the like the State Street stuff, in Nomar and all that. We try to show up and bring a bunch of helmets. We got participation with Via Christi. So if you know anybody that needs a helmet, can't afford it, or they don't want to go buy one or whatever, tell them to watch out for the fire department events. We'll post those and bring free helmets. Did everybody here know that you can come to the fire department to get a car seat installed free of charge in your car? Did everybody know that? No, well, now you do. So you can just call downtown and we've got, we used to do it like at least once a month. And we have a line of cars, right? And they come down to Firehouse 1 and we just all morning long install free car seats. I mean, people don't call us anymore. So once again, I think we need to do a better job of getting that word out. So yeah, family members or neighbors that need car seats, tell them to call us. We got a new class starting next month. And the guys in recruiting wanted me to mention that one of the biggest barriers to people being able to apply to the fire department historically, they would meet everything else and then not have their EMT qualifications done yet. So, that's an educational barrier. A lot of people couldn't afford it, could take time off work to go get it done, whatever. So a few years ago, we started in-house teaching the EMT program, and that's gone swimmingly over the last few years. There's discussion as of late, as if we want to keep doing it or not. A lot of really good guys have come out of that program in the last 3 or 4 years, and we would very much like to see it retained. I don't think it's terribly expensive when you look at what we get out of it. So everybody wants to be a fireman, but not that many people qualify, physically or whatever the case may be. So anything that we can do to reduce those barriers to apply, within reason, we're not going to start accepting felons. That would not be reasonable, but it's reasonable to offer more training to the guys that are qualified. So if that comes across anybody's place, we would like your support in maintaining that program. So let's see.
Can I just add?
Yes, absolutely.
So it did come up last week, I believe, at the budget. And I specifically asked because they're looking for places to cut. And I believe that it's 300,000 is what it has been in the past. I asked Chief Snow about it, and she said for this coming class, there was about 200 applicants and 60 of them already had their EMT, and she was only looking to hire 10.
Mhm.
So while it might not be a pressing issue for this class, I didn't want to lose the earmark. So there are definitely conversations. I know Councilmember Hoheisel, I think Councilmember Shepherd, a couple of us were asking questions about it because we have heard how successful it has been being able to offer the EMT class. So just for what that's worth, it is on our radar. I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens too when the new chief comes on.
And even if it's not as pressing now, because we've got the best 10 out of, if you're only gonna look at those 60, you're getting the best 10 out of the 60. I'd rather look at the 200 and get the best 10 out of the 200, right? So, yeah, thank you very much. Brings us to the new chief. I've not yet met Chief Meyer, so I wasn't part of that. We're all excited to have a new chief. We'll see. Yeah, excited to have a new chief, right? And then, if everybody, I assume everybody's familiar, a couple years ago, we lost Ty. It was a pretty rough day for everybody, for the entire city, I was in favor, but I know the entire city felt that. And, it sucks, and I'm gonna get a little emotional. So he was a real good dude and fantastic fireman. So, that was 2 years ago. I remember I was walking into a hotel out east that was not taking care of their fire pump when that call came out. And I remember when they said that he had gone down and I was a young guy, great shape, all that. It's like, oh man, he must be sick or something like that. And nope. And I remember when they said that he was out, and I was like, we'll get him back in no time. No, you get back, kind of stuff. So pretty rough day. Dangerous job. All jobs have their dangers. Ours can be particularly dangerous. That being said, we need to be taking care of ourselves too. So, don't need to be drinking.
Right now, like just hydrate as much as you can with this heat.
Absolutely, hydrate as much as you can. It's not strictly hydration, it's balancing the electrolytes. Energy drinks, like we're really pushing hard on the younger guys and even the older guys. We don't need 7 Red Bulls every morning, right? We don't need 4 White Monsters every morning. Like that stuff's not good for you. We're all medical professionals, even if most of us are merely EMTs. We should have some basic understanding of the way that, the cellular metabolism, especially the cardiac stuff, how that works. And that stuff is absolutely not good for you. And so we're really trying to make a difference right there. We've got a firefighter, not the department and not the union. And I think maybe I mentioned it a month ago. We've got our own sort of holistic program put together. We've got our own gym now. And so once again, it's just firemen coming together, putting this together. And then they got a bunch of sponsorships or, board members from like some banks and nonprofits and stuff. So, downtown, like Second and Wabash, we got our own gym now, we got some saunas in there, the saunas can help bring out some of the carcinogens that get kind of trapped in your skin when you're in fighting fire, and when you're driving around after fighting fire, 2 days ago, and your gear's still kind of gross, you only got one set of gear, let's see, or something. Other departments have 2 sets of gear, I don't think that's a you guys thing, but you don't want to fight a fire and then wear that gear all day long. You don't want to go make a car wreck in the pouring rain at 7:05, the first 5 minutes of your shift, and now you've got wet gear all day.
Right.
That gear doesn't dry out, like you don't just throw it in the dryer, that's not how it works. A second set of gear would be very helpful for the health and safety of our firemen. But they've got, mental health, there's like counselors that come down there, we've got a group, like a counseling group, really talk about your feelings all together, right? I can't remember the name of those. Yeah, your support group. Everybody comes together, gets all their stuff, their frustrations out about pie and how that went, all that stuff. So that's us taking care of ourselves. And I think we're doing a better job, but we need to maintain that focus. We don't need to let it go. So, all right, any other questions?
4th of July readout?
Yep, I don't have it yet.
Okay. Good stuff.
I've been asking, every week about that. I'm curious. So actually, we can kind of get a little bit of information, right? There's this list, the fires, structure fires, and normally 7.4 would be half of this page, but there's only one. I feel like we're in the upside down or something, because I don't understand it. No fires on the 3rd and 1 on the 4th. I've made 4 or 5 a night on the 4th historically. Like it's a super fun night to work for us, but this is great. I mean, our guys are kind of, bored now, but we should be bored. That's what we're hoping for. So sounds like prevention's doing their job. All right, thanks. Anything else? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Library.
Hello, I'm Christy Dowell, customer experience manager for the library. And I don't know if you know, but Sierra Kelly, who was the branch manager here at the Evergreen and Angelo branch, transferred over to our Rockwell branch. That was at the end of June. And I'm happy to report that we have a new branch manager hired for Evergreen and Angelo. Kelly Blurton will start next Monday as a new branch manager, and she has worked in both school and public libraries. The next time you come in, just stop by and say hi. If not, you'll see her going forward as your library reporter here at your meetings. We do have a Microsoft Word based class coming up here at this location on Wednesday the 12th. It's from 6 to 7:30. So if you're interested in learning about creating, editing, and saving documents using basic formatting tools, that might be a class for you if you know somebody who might be interested in that. It does require registration, so people can register online or can call 316-261-8500 to register. We have a community writing workshop. It's going to be Thursday, August 20th from 6 to 7:45 at the Advanced Learning Library.
If we could back up to the Microsoft Word Basics session.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're aware or not, but effective October 1st, Microsoft is going to discontinue access to PowerPoint. Do you know whether that class will provide any of the contingency operations in that product or not?
This one is just going to be for Word, but not PowerPoint.
Well, I'm sorry.
But
PowerPoint will be discontinued and Microsoft is recommending the use of either Word or
Okay.
Excel as an alternative.
that would be a good question for the instructor, because the instructor that comes to do those classes will be from our digital services staff.
Okay.
And so it could also be something if you're interested in, we have what's called a Book a Librarian service. And you can call and make an appointment for up to an hour with a one-on-one service with one of our librarians at the Advanced Learning Library or other locations. So when that does happen and somebody's wanting to use a different piece of software to do those same things they might have done before in PowerPoint, that might be a good thing to do, is schedule an appointment for one-on-one help with that. Or also just calling and asking that question if that's your only question. They may have information on that as well.
Thank you.
And that same phone number I gave 316-261-8500. And then you could ask for our tech trainers at the Advanced Learning Library, and they would be up to date on that information.
Thank you very much.
So, back to the community writing workshop, you can join the growing community of writers to learn about the craft for writing and receive feedback on your own writing if you're doing that, or if you know somebody who is. That's at the Advanced Learning Library. It too requires registration. And, so that will be August 20th, 6 to 7:45. We did have a closure today. We were closed all day at all locations to update some of our software. It has nothing to do with Microsoft, but our host, the way our servers are hosting all of our equipment. And so that update was complete today, I'm happy to say, and that was successful. But we do apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused today. And just understanding as we create a better experience for everyone, we're going to be able to get a library app that we have.
Is it too late to,
And we're going to be updating our catalog experience. This really touched on a lot of different aspects of our library service, and we appreciate the patience as we did that today. And lastly, talking about back to school, don't forget that if you have middle school or high school age students, they have access to a free library student e-card through USB 259. And so it is part of their registration process. They can opt in for that. And with it, a free student e-card, students can access ebooks and e-audiobooks through Libby, public Wi-Fi and computers at all locations, movies and series through streaming app Canopy, test prep for college and career readiness and entrance exams, language learning opportunities, and other numerous databases and articles and research for school assignments. With the student e-card, students can access the library's digital services 24/7 by logging in with their student ID that's used as their library card number on the class link portal. And so families, if anyone has questions, can go to our website, wichitalibrary.org/student e-card to get more information. But as it's part of the enrollment process with USD 259, they should also hear some information at registration time too. Any questions regarding libraries?
I heard that local author day was awesome.
Yes, that's always a really big success.
Yes.
I know that the weather being what it is, we've seen that you guys are open as cooling centers. Have you seen a lot of folks utilizing up here at least or across the system?
We do on a typical day, we see a lot of people coming in for any weather related event, whether it's cold or hot. I don't have numbers. I don't know if we have specific numbers on who is here for that purpose.
Yeah.
I did just see an email come across too, and I didn't read all through it, but I think there's some free shuttling to different places from the libraries as well. So doing everything we can to keep people safe.
You made you remind me, you can get on a bus and ask for that pass to the cooling center or you get the deep.
And we have free passes at the library locations that are service desks.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Works. You're up.
I'll do the bridge.
I'm gonna stand over here if you don't mind, so I can see the slide a little bit better. Gary Jansen, Public Works and Utilities, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. So as we look to the future of our water supply for Wichita and the region, my most recent discussions with the city council about our next steps on what we call our water use master plan, they suggested that I come to all 6 district advisory boards and talk about where we've been and where we're going. So this is the 3rd of 6. I was at DAP 3 last Wednesday, and I think this kind of drug on a little bit, and I was starting to lose some people. So I'm trying to be more efficient tonight, because I know you've got some really good things ahead of me here. So I want to talk about where we've been. You can maximize that
What'd you do?
on, no. Even with PDF, there's usually another arrow on the corner, you can. I want to talk about where we've been, first, because even recently, we've had a fairly wet 2026. There's been a lot of questions and comments about, do we really need to still be in watering restrictions? Where are we at going forward? What's the city done to be strategic in their approach? So just as a reminder, and probably some of you here have heard me talk about this over the years, over the last few years in particular, as we worked our way through what was really a historic drought that impacted our region from 2023 to 2025. City is a regional water provider to 500,000 people, so 1 in every 6 Kansans gets water from Wichita. Growth has been slow, but we project that our region will continue to grow, and we need to be able to provide a sustainable water supply well into the future. So we provide water to 8 neighboring cities, 3 rural water districts, and McConnell Air Force Base, all wholesale customers. The cities of Derby and Valley Center are currently building water treatment plants. They're going to utilize groundwater resources that they have had and not utilize. So that's a good thing. We're going to add more water supplied to the region. You go to the next slide. So talk about our 2 main water supplies, and then we'll start talking about what affected us the most through this drought. Cheney Reservoir, 20 miles west of the community. Not everybody's been out there and even seen that, which became an issue with us during this time of drought. It was built in the early 1960s for the sole purpose of providing water to the Wichita region. We have the water rights within Cheney Reservoir. And I'll talk more about that in just a little bit, and some of the questions that have come up over time about why don't we do different things with Cheney Reservoir to look for the future of water. We get about half of our water every day from Cheney and half of it from the Equispeds Aquifer northwest of the community. We've had water rights in the Equispeds for over 100 years. The city of Hutchinson, city of Newton also has water rights. Over half of the water rights within the Equispeds or for agricultural use producers and farmers in the area. So we have done a lot over the years. Since 2012, our recharge project has captured high water in the Little Ark River, treats it, and injects it back into the aquifer. That has helped keep the aquifer full. Very innovative project. There's others around the country who have copied what we have done because they've seen how successful it's been. As we went through the droughts, the Equispeds never dropped below 92% full, which is pretty remarkable considering where we've been. Good place to be with basically half of our water supply, but that's not enough to sustain us in the future. So we need to look to find ways that we can deal with this issue that we had at Cheney. You can go to the next slide.
Before you move on from that, Eric,
Yeah.
what's the current level in the Equispeds, do you know?
Still right around that same. We only look formally at the level twice a year. And towards the beginning of this year was when we were about 92%. It takes a while for it to come up.
So the recharge effort hasn't built it.
No, it has not. And there's enough that comes out of there on a daily basis with the water rights. It would be a very short point in time if you did.
So second question, you talk about Cheney and where it's at today. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I didn't do a fact check on it. But my wife told me yesterday, I guess, she saw something that said that July was our second driest month in like 100 years. Is that close to being accurate?
I don't think that was quite right, but it was extremely dry. I saw that same story, and I think that part might have been embellished a little bit. I saw top 10, something like that. So very good question and good point of what happens in Kansas, right? I was telling at the last 2 places I did this, and in 2025, when we came out of the drought and had the massive rains in June of 2025, that very same week, I was making a presentation like this early in the week about how we were responding to the drought. And that same week, I was in a cul-de-sac with a council member in East Wichita visiting with people who had their basements flooded from record rain events. So welcome to Kansas, which speaks to this issue right here. And I think gets to a little bit to what you were asking about, Bill. So this is the water level of Cheney Reservoir since 2011. This is what we're dealing with, and we will continue to deal with. It's unpredictable. If you see the lowest point coming from the left, that was the last big drought we had in 2013. Luckily, we had big rains within 1-2 weeks. It brought us out of that. 2019's part in the middle with some of the wettest year, one of the wettest years on record, very high. In November of 2024, Cheney Reservoir reached an all-time low from the time it was built in the early 1960s. But then you can see how quick it came out of it. The reservoir can recover quicker than our community can, especially when we look at our drought response plan and how much this jumps around. So this is what we have to work to overcome. We need to be prepared for the next drought. There will be another drought. We don't know if it's on a 10-year cycle, if it's on a 2-year cycle. If you've seen the weather for this coming week, you know it's going to be rough. It's only a week. Hot, no precipitation. Who knows when this is coming? This is what we need to respond to. This is what we need to be responsible to, because this is always going to be dependent on what happens with the weather. Go to the next slide. And this is half of our water supply. So there's a lot of information on here. I'm going to walk you through where we've been, but I still get a lot of questions. And I want to talk about Cheney Reservoir real quick. Cheney had been in the flood pool. It had been above normal conservation level up until just a few weeks ago for almost a year. We have no control over the water in what's called the flood pool. We have the rights to the conservation pool. Corps of Engineers dictates when we open the gates and we let water out. Has a lot to do with the reservoir system, what's happening downstream, if there's flooding, when the water's needed. The reason why I bring that up, because I've had a lot of people say, question our intelligence at the same time, why are you letting that water out when you're telling us we can only water 3 days a week? I'll come back to that part in a moment, but first and foremost, we have no control over that. If we did, we'd have to find a place to store it. Even if we started pulling extra water out of Cheney while it's in the flood stage, our water rights are still capped. We only get so much water, so we would still only be able to pull out what we can, and we'd have to stop right there. It's a reasonable thought. It's a good question. That's one of the challenges of that. Our drought response plan activation started in early 2023. That came off of the 2013 drought. We developed a drought response plan. In 2023, we went into stage 1, which called for voluntary conservation. Voluntary conservation was mostly on the part of the city and the organization. We developed an internal conservation plan, and we found ways to save a lot of water across the organization. We've got over 500 buildings that the city owns. We've got a lot of ball fields. We've got a lot of parks. We changed up the type of grasses. We changed watering habits. We changed mowing habits. Fire station changed how they wash trucks. Golf courses did the same with golf carts. We needed to lead the way. We heard the community say, if you're going to tell us to conserve water, you need to do it first. So we did. And we still are, and we're keeping that to that point. We developed a website called SaveWichitaWater.com. If you've never been there, I'd recommend you still go there. This will forever be a great resource for conservation. There's information here on how to properly take care of your yard. There's information here on shrubs and plants and trees that take less water. We partner with the extension agencies to really do a good job. Our internal conservation plan is on here. As we were going through stage 2 of our drought response plan in August of 2024, when we went stage 2, I think most people are aware, is when we said you can only water 1 day a week. We had a dashboard on here for Cheney Reservoir. Remember I mentioned that it's 20 miles away. One of the things we figured out was it's out of sight, out of mind. We would get a rain sometime late in 2024, early 2025, and the local weathermen said, we're out of the drought. We actually had to sit down with all of the local news stations and meteorologists and say, help us out here. This is not helping us out. People can't see Cheney if they don't go out there. Very stark. If you, some of the first 2 pictures on the very first slide, if you went out there and saw, it was really pretty amazing to see how low Cheney was. They started broadcasting from out there and telling their stories from out there, and it really seemed to help. That people recognize that's where the problem is. It's not right here. That is half of our water supply. That's when it's impacting us here. Going on with Cheney, the question's been asked a lot. Why don't you dredge Cheney? Get the sediment out of it, right? Get it back to its original capacity. The fact is that we've made very strategic investments over the years. The watershed that feeds Cheney Reservoir, 600,000 acres, it's the upper branch of the North Fork of the Nenasko. We have done a lot in working with the state of Kansas and other groups to keep the sediment out of the reservoir. We worked with local farmers, changed the type of farming that they did. And the last time we did a study at Cheney, we'd only lost 7% of the volume, which is pretty amazing for that many years. If you're familiar with Tuttle Creek in Manhattan, it's lost over 50% of the capacity of the reservoir from sedimentation. Dredging is really, really expensive. We got to an estimate of $100 million and we only gained 30 days of additional water. That's not a very good proposition, not a good return on investment. The question was asked, why don't you build another reservoir? And so we can save up twice as much water. If you remember that last slide and you saw that cyclical up and down of the reservoir surface level, we're still dependent on what happens in the watershed and the inflow to it. If we build another reservoir in that same area, at some point in time, we're going to have two big holes in the ground that are half full of water. We still can't control what happens in there. Huge cost, a lot of permitting associated with it, not very strategic for us. The question has been asked, get water out of El Dorado Reservoir. We've done multiple studies over the years showing that the water availability is not there when we need it. Most of the water rights in El Dorado are spoken for. I've mentioned water rights multiple times. State of Kansas has control over water rights. Not everybody realizes that water within reservoirs, especially the federal reservoirs, but even the groundwater we talked about in Equispeds, the water rights are controlled by the state and have been for many years. So it's not just a free-for-all who can get there first. Most water rights are closed. Not a lot of available water. Something that most people don't think about is that every single drop of water on this earth is the exact same amount of water that's forever been on this earth. The same as when the dinosaurs were on earth. All of it has been recycled and reused in perpetuity millions and millions of times. We have to find a way to capitalize on that, and that's where we're going to start heading here in just a minute and talking about reuse. I mentioned we've done some great things with the Equispeds recharge, and that the water rights are closed. So I mentioned these things because even recently, I've had a lot of folks question, are you working hard enough? Have you done enough? When we start talking about this idea of recycling and reuse, you need to dig in deeper. You need to look harder. We're not in a desperate spot of going to the only place we can to recycle water, but it makes sense. There's not a lot of other options. I think we've done a really, really good job of conservation. Right now, our projections are as early as 2036, we could have a shortage in supply of water if we don't start looking for another plan. Next slide, which is where we're going here now. I think you gotta go back a couple. You're going the wrong way.
Am I?
Yeah. Now go forward one. Right
There
there.
it is.
In September of 2025, City Council, I think, made a very wise decision to implement this schedule for watering going forward. And I don't call this restrictions because this seems to imply that it's temporary. This is now in city code going forward that watering is 3 days a week. If you were not aware of this, you need to be aware of this. We want this to be educational. I talked before about changing the culture as we went through the drought. This was about changing our culture going forward. Experts will tell you watering 3 days a week is all you need. Anything else is not for a healthy yard. So make sure this is not meant to be punitive. I don't have the staff to police this. We need people to buy in. This will make a difference going forward. We are seeing a reduction in consumption. Next slide. Yeah.
Is it just sprinklers, or is it like all watering, or?
That part is for any irrigation systems, the sprinklers. You can actually hand water anytime you want outside 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. there is no watering allowed of any type. It's the worst time of day to do it. Monday, there's no watering. Those other days, those 3 days are for sprinkler systems, which you can hand water any of the days. And that is I know that doesn't show that there, but if you look online, say wichitawater.com, it's got that information on there.
And there had been some sort of okay for like drip lines on vegetable gardens and that sort of thing at off times. Is that everything back on that schedule.
Well, that is too. So, even when we were under drought, watering restrictions with stage 2 drought response, we allowed, food gardens to be exempt from that. So there are exceptions there. We also have, by application, we have exceptions for establishing new yards, which makes a big difference with new houses in particular. We had a lot of people that kind of put their yards on hold for some time. We allow exceptions for generally up to 30 days to water in a new yard every day. So we're trying to be flexible. You know, it was tough there, tough to go there for a while. You know, when we, I'll just want to mention this and then I'll move on to this. We were really, really close to going into stage 3 of our drought response plan. Stage 3 would have eliminated a lot of our water. And you can imagine what that does to a community our size, and it starts impacting businesses and folks' livelihood. We want to stay as far away from that as we can in the future. A lot of information on here, but this is where we start talking about heading towards this idea of recycling what is ours and our water supply. Again, on the left is Cheney Reservoir, the top is the Equispeds. The blue in the middle is our new water treatment plant, our existing water treatment plant. If we have 2 minutes at the end here, I'll give you an update on our water treatment plant if you're interested. The green is all of our wastewater treatment facilities. So we treat and distribute almost 50 million gallons a day to all of our customers. That is distributed to residential customers, commercial businesses, restaurants, industrial. What's not consumed goes to those multiple wastewater treatment facilities, is treated to a certain standard, it's discharged to the rivers, and it heads downstream. We're going to start looking at this idea that that is still part of our water supply, and what could we do with that to make a future water of securing our future. We've been in the reuse and recycling business for some time. Since 2015, we have provided almost 1 million gallons a day of treated wastewater to Boeing, Spirit. That left side of that purple line, that goes from our main wastewater treatment plant, which we call Plant 2, 57th and Hydraulic, over to Spirit. They can actually, by agreement, take double that, 2 million gallons a day. They're working to try to get to that point. The right side of that shows our pump house, but this has been very successful. So we're capturing the treated wastewater, we're sending it to them. They use it for cooling, they use it for production processes. We're going to continue looking for more opportunities for industrial reuse across the community so that we can offset our potable water supply in the future. There's been this concern, and I always like to mention and just get it out there, that over the years, when this whole idea of recycling and reuse came into play, especially in more of the arid regions of the country in California, there was this notion of what people call toilet to tap, right? Not something we always want to talk about, but hey, we'll just get it out there because people said, you're really thinking about treating our wastewater and making it a drinking water supply. So what I wanted to make sure everybody understands, everyone is downstream from someone, right? Anywhere you go, even the water we capture in Little Ark River came from upstream somewhere. Part of it came out of a wastewater treatment plant and came to us. If you drink the water in New Orleans, it's been likely treated 13 times or more because it started in the upper Midwest in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's treated, it's used, it's treated, it goes to the river, it's captured again, it goes through the same old process. That's what I talked about, all the water on Earth being recycled millions of times. Reuse and recycling is already in place. We can use the term de facto, but it's always been there. You do get this environmental buffer, right? So you get dilution of the river, but it's always been there. We're going to start looking for taking that to a different place and a different step and being able to create a future water supply. Top right, NASA has been utilizing recycled water on the International Space Station for years. They have no choice. They have found a way to make it healthy and to make it safe. I personally would bet on anything NASA would make work. So I think that we're going to look to see what they've done for advanced water purification. Bottom right picture is a really cool story with Botanica. Botanica, most people would not know, the majority of their water is potable water because they have not been able to utilize wells in the area that they're in. We, with our new water treatment plant and the testing that we've been doing, to test that plant, we have to run water through it. We have to dispose of that test water. Hasn't been real popular, I get it. But the analogy that we've always given is you don't do a test flight for a plane, the first one with people on it, right? So you've got to do multiple test flights. We've got to test this plant, we've got to run test water through it. We figured out a way, that test water, it pumps through a pipeline up to our current plant. And we had been putting it into the river. We built a fill station, which is where that fire hydrant is on the right. That tank on the left is one that Botanica got and has on site. They're capturing that test water and they're using it for irrigation. They've used almost 6 million gallons of that water so far, and they're going to continue doing it. And this has actually made them look to do even more. We're going to actually have a discussion this Friday that Councilmember Ballard will be at. I'm going to have to miss it to talk about Botanica's plan to look even more at recycling and reuse. So we're doing great things already. Next slide. That picture on the left, I mentioned plant 2, our main wastewater treatment plant. That's 25 million gallons a day of treated wastewater going into the Ark River and heading downstream. Keep in mind, our average daily demand is 50 million gallons a day. Imagine what we could do if we could capture this, find a way through advanced water purification to treat this to drinking water standards, and create a future water supply that replaces half of our daily demand. Think what we could do for our community for growth. We need to make sure that we can still bring businesses to our community. I'll just tell you that I've had a lot of people reach out and say, you only want to do this so you can bring data centers to Wichita. That's not what this is about. We don't predict what businesses are coming. We just want to be able to respond to the needs. So there's some things we're working on with making sure we don't interfere with anybody's downstream water rights. I think we've got that all taken care of, but this is really where it starts to center on what the future looks like. Next slide. This water reuse master plan we've had underway since last year. We hired CDM Smith is doing a great job for us. There's a lot of information on here. It's multiple components. Community outreach and public engagement is a big, big deal. I've probably talked about this to 50 different groups in the last year. Across the state and even in different states, there's a lot of people paying attention to what Wichita is doing. And I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But we're looking at supply and demand analysis. We're looking at funding. The City Council 3 weeks ago approved funding for a pilot project, which I'm going to talk about here shortly, which is going to be a really, really big deal for us to be able to move this effort forward. Alternatives for reuse. And then we're working through the Bureau of Reclamation on a feasibility study so we can look at federal funding. One of the first and most critical steps in this, Kansas did not have, still does not have regulations in place that allows reuse and recycling like this for potable use for drinking water. It's only about 6 states that currently have either legislation and or regulation. The first thing we had to do was get legislation in place. There was a lot of stuff that had to fall in place in this last session. If you pay attention to what happened in state level politics, the focus was on property taxes, amongst other things. And then also we've got a governor's race going on. We were very fortunate to squeeze in. I spent a lot of time at the State House earlier this year talking to multiple committees, and we really got lucky, I think, from a lot of hard work. Governor signed this bill into law in April of this year. And what that said is that KDHE will now be required to develop regulations for reuse in Kansas. We are now on a map from the National Water Reuse Association of one of the only half a dozen states in the country that have moved to this point. So we've made some real progress real quick. Not much else could happen here without having this happen first. So really excited, really proud that this happened as a critical step. We're going to work with KDHE now to help develop regulations. Next slide. Communication and public outreach, I mentioned, is very critical. We're going to actually create a steering committee soon that'll help us carry this effort forward. Our consultant has a really good part of their team that has done public outreach for reuse for over 30 years across the country. They did some interviews with businesses, talked to the restaurant industry, the health industry, public schools. And we've got as part of our website about what's happening in the 3 years master plan. But what's really cool is we were working with Exploration Place. They jumped on board as wanting to be a part of this. They have created a short film that they're working on finishing up now. If you've been to Exploration Place and their IMAX theater, they're going to show this film at the beginning of all of their movies about our journey to water recycling. And it's very specific. If you happen to see it, you'll recognize some of the things I told you tonight are in that film. Really cool. They're also going to build an exhibit about water recycling and reuse over the next couple of years. With Exploration Place's new Playscape and Place, whatever the name of that is, they're expecting to bump up to almost 800,000 visitors a year. Huge exposure for us, great thing. We're going to keep doing it. So we're excited about that. Next slide. Sorry, could have been doing that all along. I want to keep going fast through these next slides, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference in when we talk about reuse options. The top box, we talk about indirect potable reuse. So if our plant 2 is where we saw that picture of 25 million gallons a day going to the river. If we take that and we build an advanced water purification treatment facility, that's really what this is about. The technology has changed over the years. Other states have been able to prove already that you can clean that water. In fact, you can clean that water to a point that it's cleaner than what's coming out of our water treatment plant, and you have to introduce some minerals back in, which is a good thing, but I'll get to that in a minute. One of the things we can do with what we call indirect, and this is what California does a lot. Historically, for years, California has treated their wastewater and they sent it out to the ocean. Because of the challenges of water in places like California and Arizona, they're having to augment their water supplies. So they treat their wastewater through that same type of facility. They pump it back to where it came from, to the aqueduct, to the aquifer, to the original water supply. It's a huge cost for California. I didn't realize this till I was out there, but Los Angeles County has a 5,000 feet change in elevation from south end to the north end of the county. You can imagine how much it costs to pump uphill, but that's what they're dealing with. For us to pump out to Cheney Reservoir, so one of the thoughts was, Cheney Reservoir is low. Let's have a pipeline and let's send this water out there and fill the reservoir back up. We still have to treat it. Not a bad idea. It's 37 miles. That's an expensive pipeline. But what happens during a wet year and Cheney Reservoir stays full? Kind of got a stranded investment. We would have to change our strategy on how we treat water. We're not giving up on that. That's still an option. That could become part of our new water supply. Bottom box is likely where we're headed on direct potable reuse. That water comes out of our wastewater treatment plant. It's purified, and then it's blended with one of our water supplies. That's the critical part. It's blended with one of our current water supplies, it's treated, and it's distributed to the system, and it becomes a direct water source for the future. This is probably what makes the most sense for us. All of this is expensive. We're looking at the future of what the cost looks like, how this might be funded. First thing we're going to do is this pilot project. This is a lot of stuff. Not trying to overwhelm you with technology stuff. I couldn't explain most of this if I tried, but when we talk about advanced water purification, there's 6 different barriers that this treatment process goes through, from the first part of filtration to ultrafiltration. You've heard about reverse osmosis, ultraviolet disinfection, granular activated carbon, and then there's even a final one for removal of pathogens. We have a great program in place already that removes industrial contaminants from the wastewater. This focuses on the human pathogen side of it, which in all recognize is kind of the part of concern. This has been proven in other states to work well. Our consultant has developed a pilot like this in Los Angeles. I'll show you in a minute. We're going to build a pilot that's going to look like this. That's going to do it so we can prove out how this process works. City Council has approved the funding to move forward with this. This is, and promise you, I'm getting close to the end. So this pilot, for what it's worth, this is the one in California. With their warm weather, they can put equipment outside. We won't be able to do that. But on site at Plant 2, we are now moving forward. Thank you to the City Council for approving the funding to build this pilot project. This pilot project is going to allow us to show to regulators how this process works, that it's safe. It will help them to continue to develop regulations. We can show elected officials, the local and state level, how we can create a safe water supply for the future. And we want this to be as educational as we can be. I took this picture. They've got a trailer on most of these sites where they bring in school kids. They bring in anybody from the community who would like to see how this process works. They got a video. We're working on something similar like this too, that we could create something like this for our libraries, for our community centers, so not just here. But this is going to be a great educational tool so we can verify this process, so we can prove out how this works, and then see what the future looks like. This really brings it all together right here, and I'll show you what you're looking at real quick, because this is on our website, and this is something we provide to a lot of people. The picture on the right is our collective water supply together. If you follow the dark blue arrow, our existing water cycle goes to the water treatment plant. It's distributed to homes and businesses. It goes to the wastewater treatment plant, what's not consumed. That non-potable use is what we talked about with Boeing. Our Parks Department already uses some of it for watering trees. We actually use some treated wastewater to clean out our sewers. The rest goes to the river. Then if you follow the light blue, there's two things that can happen. That indirect, the top light blue is what I talked about. This advanced water treatment facility treats it. You could pump it to Cheney, keep Cheney full. The inner circle is likely what we'll look at doing through advanced water treatment back to our water treatment plant to blend it and back into the system. So we complete the loop, we close the cycle, we capture what's ours so that we can recycle this and create a future water supply. So what's next? We're going to keep.
What's that do downstream? From a conservation standpoint of now you're impacting Winfield, York City.
Thank you. Good question. I didn't mean to skip over that because I did talk about that. So we've been working with the Division of Water Resources. We have modeled that. In fact, I got a letter from them just Friday. Today's Monday, Friday, that said we have shown that we will have minimal impact on downstream, which is good. We've modeled that during drought conditions because that is a very good question. We have to make sure we don't impact water rights that I talked about downstream. We're in a good place, so we're going to run with it while we can.
So one more question, that outer loop, you said 37 million roughly is a comment back on the Cheney.
Not 37 million, it's 37 miles. It's a lot more than that.
So can you ballpark that? I mean, you ballpark, but those two smaller.
So just to give you some idea, the inner circle, it's probably $500 million. We're talking about a big project here over time. Not to sugarcoat that, but to give you some perspective, because a lot of times folks don't think about just how big our community is. We are currently financing $900 million in improvements between our new water treatment plant and what we're doing at our main wastewater treatment plant, what we call our BNR improvements. And we've been able to spread that out over time and I think minimize the impact to ratepayers. I don't think it's out of the question as we start getting past those big projects that we could start looking to a project like this. The outer circle, first estimate was closer to 700 million, so it is quite a bit more expensive, but we're going to continue to refine that, I hope, over the next few years here as this technology continues to advance and it's utilized more, that maybe we see the costs come down too.
Meaning, water rates?
Well, the impact of future water rates, yeah. If we want our community to have water, we're going to have to do something. So, and I'm happy to talk about water rates and compare to other parts of the country if anybody wants to.
Probably.
What's next is we're going to work with KDHE on this pilot plan. We're going to work on a grant application. We did get confirmation of downstream water rights, so I need to change that. And then the public engagement will keep going. If you're interested sometime, go on YouTube and watch a video called Renewed. It was developed by the Southern California Water Coalition. It's an awesome video. And I think it's great for kids. I think it's great for anybody because it talks about water from the beginning of time and it walks you through everything I talked about tonight of how the water recycle works. Really cool story. It's easy to follow. Anyway, that was all I had. Happy to answer any questions and then I can give you a quick update on the water treatment plant.
The jury, would you repeat?
It was called Renewed. all you need to know is renewed, the first part of that.
Okay, got it.
Sorry,
You're like an expert.
thank you. Well,
You getting some national attention?
I appreciate that. I think it's just because I've done this so many times. So I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to speak about this in other places. I'm going to New Orleans here at the end of September to talk about where we've been. We've had folks reaching out to us from other parts of the country. We have made a lot of progress in a short period of time. Might just be out of me not knowing any better, but we've kept pushing forward. But truly, the city council has done a wonderful job of being in support and looking to me, the most critical part here is to not forget where we've been. We were in a really, really bad spot with that drought, and we can't let that escape people's minds of where we were, and we will go back to that place again. We want our community to prosper. If we want it to grow, this is the right place to be. And I appreciate that. I like talking about this. I want to make sure we have a consistent message, and we're excited to see what's next. This pilot project's going to be really cool.
Gary, I think you're talking about doing innovative things here. Wichita has a history of doing that when they cleaned up the groundwater from Coleman. And if people have never been down to that,
To the water center, yeah.
what is it called?
It's called the Water Center.
Herman Hill Park.
Yeah, at Herman Hill Park.
Herman Hill Park. So impressive. And I don't know how many years ago it was, 30, 40 years ago. That would have been a major thing for the government to come in, but people from Wichita put their heads together and made it work without intervention.
I agree. It's been almost 40 years now, and we're starting to wind that down here in the next 10 years. So, yeah.
Questions from the dad before we go back out to you?
If you've had any public, what public response is to this? I mean, the direct to potable.
So when I first started talking about this last year, I've been to all the Rotaries. I've been to governing body meetings for all wholesale customers. I've been anywhere you can go. I've been in people's living rooms to neighborhood groups. And there was more pushback originally on concerns about health impacts. People said, are you really thinking about making this drink treated wastewater? And I get that. I think it's helped to, talk about this notion of reuse that's already happening, and recycling that's already happening and being downstream, and what we can do with this new technology and water purification. There are still, we got an email just the other day from someone who said, you haven't done enough, try harder, this is unacceptable. This is why, and that's fine. This is why I walked through where we've been and all those things we talked about with Cheney, with El Dorado. This isn't a last ditch effort. We're not desperate to make you drink wastewater. That's not what this is about. This is being innovated. This is the future. At some point in time, we will limit what our city can do, what we can do for growth if we don't look to do something like this.
Should be.
I mean, Northwest Arkansas is where I'm from, and so 35 years ago, I mean, as growth up there was exploding, I mean, they've had to deal with limited water, and they're using a modified, it's not direct potable, but, we relate that basically filters wastewater from all around that region, right? Like, so it's not like that far away from us. We've got this working in a different way. It's not direct, but
There are, I think I'm really proud of where we've been, and we couldn't have done it without city council support. I don't mean to play that Councilmember Ballard, but I truly mean that because and here's what I'll tell you, and I don't say this to make people think we're doing the wrong thing, because we're not. There are states that not only say, don't have regulations allow it, they have regulations saying you cannot do it specifically. So you have to overcome that first before you can even start down the